Hey everybody, welcome back to Walking with Jesus Daily. We're in the recording for day 279. And we're going to continue on a little bit in Matthew 22, 15 through 22. This is going to be seen in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Mark 12, 13 through 17, and Luke 20, 20 through 26. Jesus just got finished doing, I believe, 3 straight parables, all on the kingdom. And these parables on the kingdom were equally powerful as they were damning to so many. He was talking with Pharisees, he was talking with people. So all in one place, Jesus is able to bring together what seems like Pharisee, scribe, chief priest, sinner, tax collector, prostitute, disciples, doubters, believers, Jews, Gentiles. It's kind of neat that even in his lessons, he brought all people to himself. And in these teachings on the kingdom, he kind of laid it out there as to who was going to be invited and who wasn't going to be invited. He laid it out there as to who accepted the invitation, who didn't accept the invitation, who chose change, and who chose to stay the same. He lays it all out there for us to look at. And I do believe that is, God delivers such incredible messages through his son. So dense. Jesus was one that was able to use very few words and speak, encyclopedias of information. It's kind of beautiful to read, and it's also complex, and sometimes, requires a lot of energy and a lot of thought process. Going into the Bible and reading into the Word sometimes is not always a relaxing thing to do. Sometimes it's taxing. Sometimes it can be exhausting. It's always filling. Yesterday, we talked about the marriage feast. And it was interesting to read about people were too busy doing their own thing, especially business that was written out. And I like that it was in 2 of them were pointed out. One, he had to go back to his farm. The other, go tend to some business. So instead of coming to the feast to celebrate another person, they were too busy living their own lives as their own king in their own kingdom, doing their own thing. And the only thing that was going to come of that was, they were going to live and die by their own kingdom. Our fate is no different if our kingdom is one that we have built up here on this earth. So let's get into today's. I hope that you have had some time to pray. My day has not gone as expected. Not much I can do about it at this point. So I'm just going to roll with it and make the most of it, and hope hope for the best, right? What are you going to do? You can't change. Can't take back time. You can't change what's already happened. I'm fine. I just needed to be somewhere about 30 minutes before I'm going to get there, simply because I set the alarm for the wrong day. When you get out of rhythm, life gets a little bit more difficult sometimes. You make small mistakes that you wouldn't normally make, not on purpose, and not even because you're not paying close attention to the details. Just a little bit off rhythm. So walking hand in hand and step in step with Jesus on a daily basis helps to keep us in our spiritual rhythm. So even when you don't feel like it, just do it. Just stick with it. Just keep going. Matthew 22:15-22. ESV. Then the Pharisees went and plotted how to entangle him in his words. He just spoke a lot of words to them. So I'm going to try to entangle him so that they can bring him down. That's been their whole goal for a long time. Same game, nothing new. And they sent their disciples to him, along with the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God truthfully, and you do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances. Tell us then what you think." And this is probably my favorite story. Maybe. Top 5 for sure. Tell us then what you think. So, the Pharisees are trying to trap Jesus. So what they do is they send their own disciples along with Herodians to ask a question, to try to trap him. Look what they say about him. "Teacher, we know you're true. We know you teach the way of God truthfully. And you don't care about anybody's opinions. You're not swayed by appearances. Unlike them. Tell us then what you think." Here's the question, Jesus. "Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" Now, they're not talking about Roman law. I'm talking about the law they live under, which is the Mosaic law, which is God's law. But Jesus, aware of their malice, Jesus knew what they were trying to do. He's aware of it. He asked them a question. "Why put me to the test, you hypocrites? You pretenders." Remember when he uses the word hypocrite, it's like the word pretender. Like you're doing nothing but pretending. You're play pretending. You're a fake. Why do you put me to the test? Why do you say these flattering things about me? And I know all you're trying to do is trap me. So he says to them, "Show me the coin for the tax." So they brought him a denarius. And Jesus said to them, "Whose likeness and inscription is this?" So on the coin, there's a picture of Caesar and his words. They said, "It's Caesar's." Then he said to them, "Therefore, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." When they heard it, they marveled, and they left him and went away. All I can ever think of And this might be dumb to y'all, but most things are at this point. I mean, you're 279 days in. You're dumb is just the normal. I always think of the movie The Toy Story because, who doesn't relate nearly every Bible story to a Disney story, right? Sorry. But on the bottom of Woody's boot, the name Andy is written on it. The name Andy is written on it because that toy was special to Andy, and it signified who Andy belonged to, or who Woody belonged to Andy. That way, if anybody found Woody, they would know that this toy belongs to Andy. And there'd be no mix-up, and hopefully they would return Woody to Andy. But it became kind of like a special thing to the toys, right? If they were marked with Andy's name, they belonged to Andy and they were special. That coin was marked with Caesar's inscription because it was his. We are marked by God as his. That makes us special. Makes us special. It also points out, who we belong to and where. So, let's read these other versions. I love how Jesus just says one thing, and they think they're coming to test him about the law. They think they're coming to test him about, this is how we're going to trap him. He's going to say, if you say, yes, you pay taxes, they're going to be, well, you serve a different king and we don't serve Caesar. It's treason to the Most High God. And if you say you don't pay taxes, then that's treason to Caesar, and they'll have reason to kill him. Mark 12, 13 through 17. I'm getting there. Sorry, guys. Mark 12, starting verse 13, and I am still in the ESV, by the way. And they sent to him some of the Pharisees and some of the Herodians to trap him in his talk. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read each one of these in a different version. Okay, you guys all right with that? I'm sure you are. So we'll do Amplified next. Then they sent some of the Pharisees and the Herodians to Jesus in order to trap him into making a statement that they could use against him. So we know what the goal of this is. So just so we know, this is a very unlikely alliance between the Pharisees and the Herodians. The Pharisees were extremely strict, religious sect, if you will. And the Herodians were not religious, and they supported the rule of Caesar. This is why we're reading the different versions, okay? So, where else would, see, enemies come together when they have a common enemy. That makes sense? If Jesus is the enemy of the Pharisees and also the enemy of Rome, then even though the Pharisees and Rome are enemies to one another, they can come together for this reason. We're going to see this more than one time. The Pharisees and the Sadducees are going to come together. That's like a Republican and a Democrat coming together. You've got two different nations coming together, Israel and Rome right here. You're going to have the governor and the king. You're going to have Pilate, the governor, and you're going to have King Herod that are also going to come together. All of these common enemies are going to be united in forces of evil because of Jesus. And these things are kind of startling, but that's who Herodians are, okay? They came together in order to trap Jesus. So this way, no matter how Jesus answered, he had to pick one, and either the Herodians were going to call him out for treason or the Pharisees were, depending on which one he picked. They came to him, and this is what they said. Teacher, we know that you're truthful and have no personal bias towards anyone, for you are not influenced by outward appearances or social status. These things they say is pretty true, but in truth, you teach the way of God. A little flattering here, huh? Here's the question. Is it lawful, according to Jewish law and tradition, to pay the poll tax to Tiberius Caesar or not? Should we pay the tax or should we not pay? Simple question, right? It's a day's wage is a denarius, remember? But knowing their hypocrisy, knowing that they're fake, Jesus asked them, why are you testing me? Like, I know what you're doing here. This is not hard to figure out. The question is why? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are you doing this to me? He said, bring me a coin, a denarius, to look at it. So they brought one. Then he asked them a second question. First he says, why are you testing me? Two, he says, whose image and inscription is this? So if we looked at a coin today, which I don't even know if we have coins, but somebody's likeness and inscription, someone's image and inscription is on it. And it says, U.S. government or treasury or whatever it says. They said to him, Caesar's. All right, fair enough. Jesus says to them, pay to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. Going to be tough to trap Jesus in this one with that kind of an answer. Right? Pardon me. How you gonna trap him in this one? All right. Well, Herodians, We'll give to Caesar what's his. Jews, give to God what's God's. They're greatly amazed. Let's go to Luke 20:20. I love it when Jesus answers things so simply that his wisdom exceeds everyone around him, right? All right. We're actually going to start, in 20. I'm going to start in verse 19 of Luke. Luke chapter 20, starting at 19. The scribes and the chief priests tried to find a way. Oh, wait, let me change this real quick. My bad. Let's do Passion Translation on this one. Let's talk our way through what's taking place here. Verse 20. Later, they sent spies who pretended to be honest seekers, but who wanted an opportunity to entangle Jesus by his words. You figure he speaks enough that eventually you'll be able to catch him in something that you can use. It'd be easy to do with me. Their plan was to catch him saying something against the government so they could hand him over to the jurisdiction of the Roman authorities who would execute him for sedition. So remember, they start by saying, you are truthful, you speak the word of God, you're a good teacher. They're puffing him up. They're trying to say, you only speak the law of God. So because of that, I'm going to ask you a political question. Isn't that fun? Because you only speak the truth about God, and you don't care about what anybody thinks, you just say it like it is. You're not fearful of Rome or the government. You're not fearful of anyone. So I have an important question to ask you, because you are good like this, right? Their plan was to catch him saying something against the government. All right, 21. At the right time, they asked him this question. Teacher, we know that all you say is straightforward, and what you teach us is right. You give us the true ways of God. You're one who shows no favoritism to anyone's status. So we ask you, is it proper or not to pay taxes to a corrupt government? Ooh. Some burns a bit, right? Some burns a little bit. Jesus saw right through their cunning ploy. Wait, which version? I'm supposed to be... Yes. And he said, why are you testing me? He sees through this whole thing. He says, why are you testing me? Why are you trying to catch me in something? Why are you flattering? Why are you lying? Why are you pretending to be something you're not? Show me one of the Roman coins. All right. Whose head is on the coin? Whose title is stamped on it? They look at the coin and they answered, this is Caesar. It's Caesar's. Jesus said, precisely. Good answer. The coin bears the image of the emperor Caesar. And you should give back to Caesar all that belongs to him. In other words, if his face and name and words are on the coin, that means it's his. It's his. So give it back to him. But you bear the image of God. So give back to God all that belongs to him. The impostors were left speechless and amazed in the presence of all the people, unable to trap Jesus with his own words. Now the note here gives us a little bit of information about the coins. It just talks about the coins from that era were found with the emperor's image and a superscription that says, Tiberius Caesar Augustus, the son of the divine. Tiberius Caesar Augustus, son of the divine Augustus. Divine. Interesting. It's understandable how the Jews did not like Rome. It's understandable how they didn't want to be mistreated by them. It's understandable how much they hated the evil that was Rome. It's understandable how much it bothered them that their emperor believed that they were divine and a god. It's understandable for you to be upset about these things because they directly go against God. However, to know God is to know that He has a plan and a purpose for all things. If He wanted Israel to overthrow Rome, then He would have raised them up, but He didn't. So it's interesting here. They're trying to trap Jesus in His own words, but Jesus very easily sees right through what's going on and kind of destroys this pretty quickly, right? Here's the thing that it's kind of interesting, all right? Do you know that you bear the image of God? Do you know that even before you gave your life to Jesus, that you were made in the likeness and the image of God? Do you know that from your birth, you're actually property of God's? That you were actually meant to be in God's spiritual kingdom forever. However, we have chosen to run after the image of man, the image of the evil one, the image of success or money, the image of relationships, the image of the lusts of our heart and of our flesh and of our eyes, the image of pride. So the natural ways of man. But that never took away the image of who we're actually supposed to be and whose likeness we are in. That's never changed. We continue to be in the likeness of God. God's name is written on the bottom of our boot, or our hey dude, or our whatever it is that we're wearing. It's God. It's God's name written there. When people look at us, they should say, oh, she or he belongs to God. And that also means that the things of this world belong to the world and not to us. So with that being said, nothing on this planet has a hold of us because it doesn't belong to us. The things of the world belong to the world. Therefore, if you belong to the world, then the things of this world have an attachment on you. They have power over you. It's the same question we've asked for the last 200 and some odd days was, do you belong to the temporal parts of this world, or do you belong to the spiritual? Are you one who belongs to the world, or are you one who belongs to God? Is your mind focused on the things above or on the things of this earth? Where is your heart? Where are your thoughts? How would you have answered this question? What about even now? Shouldn't all of your money go to God? How dare the government just take money out of your paycheck whenever they want to? Maybe we shouldn't pay taxes to this corrupt government. But Jesus said, maybe you should be giving yourself to God, and you should stop worrying about these things. See, the question they asked was, is it lawful, according to God's law, is it okay for us to pay taxes to this terrible, terrible, corrupt government? And Jesus said to them, it really shouldn't bother you to give money that has their inscription back to them. What should bother you is the fact that you're not giving your own life to God. That's what should bother you. And that's no different now. Guys, money is an illusion. Do we need it to live? Yeah, technically we need it to live. It's a currency that we use to have food and shelter and clothing and all the waste stuff that we don't need. What else is it? It has no place in the kingdom of God. It might say, in God we trust on our money. But if our government were to start minting coins now, would it say that? Does God have anything to do with money? He blesses us with what we need. He takes care of us. But in God's kingdom, what value does money have? None. It's a tool that can be used to help show our separation from this world. It's a tool that can be used that says, hey, how important are those dollars? How important is money in your life? How often do you talk about it? How often do you think about it? Do you draw comfort from it? Well, how important is God in your life? How often do you talk about Him? How often are you concerned about your life for Him? How often do you draw comfort from Him? It's pretty simple here, guys. If money is more on your mind or on your heart or in your comforts, in your true comforts, and you can be real with yourself, it's okay, than God is, then you just got your priorities mixed up. You believe in the power of the world over the power of God because of your actions in your heart, not because you want to believe it, but it's because you do. So with that being said, let's repent from this world. Let's give money away. Let's love people, support people, and let's not think about money. Let's be reminded that the money belongs to this world, but more important than money, because it wasn't even a question about money. It was a question about the law. Jesus makes it pretty simple. He says, you belong to God. So shouldn't you belong to God? And you'll be surprised what happens to your heart and your mind when you've decided to solely belong to God and that nothing else has your heart. All right. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.